Good morning, everyone. Um, Today I'm going to be showing you my financial reporting application. My name is Richard Bagley. Now, the first thing that I had to start with when I started developing this application was the application domain. Basically, where was I going to bring my data in and how was it formatted? So I went to sec.gov and I looked at how the data is formatted. So each company that is public that trades their stock has to submit filings to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. And basically, each company is assigned a CIK, a central index key that's unique to them. It never goes away, no matter how many times they change their name, their tickers, anything about themselves. That ID is always the same. So whenever they're filing, it's always the same. So that's our ID of the company. So that's the top level. Each company submits a certain set of filings. Now, for this application, we're going to focus on 10Ks and 10Qs. And for those filing types, there is a parameter that's pretty consistent, which is the period end date. Now, the period end date is basically what period of time this filing is for. So it's from the period end date back to the last time that they filed. So that's the date range that the data that's supplied in these filings is applied to. Next, you have filing, which is each filing has a whole series of data, but for right now we're only focusing on the financials. Now the financials come into three basic categories: balance sheet, cash flow, and income statement. And each of these categories have pretty consistent data values within them. They're pretty consistent in the fact that they're numeric and monetary or monetary. Um, so that means that they either have some value, like shares has some numeric value, or it has some dollar value, which covers a monetary aspect. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so now that's my domain. Um, let's move on to my eCore. So the setup of the system is pretty basic. You have a standard user. A user will have a database that they're accessing for their data, and they're going to have which stores all the reports and the value sets for the specific user, and the user will access this data. Now, this is a local storage using SQLite. It'll be local to the application. I've not provided the SQLite and the SQL database adapter on this model, mostly because it's supposed to be pushed down to a lower level. But I am using that package, the SQLite package that's provided by Android. Now, each user will have a set of reports that they're able to access. Now, the reports will have values, and as you can see from the diagram, there's specific methods that can be used in the report that allow it to be updated and changed and everything like that. Just standard basic things. Now, the web services portion of my project comes into the available data section. Now, the available data basically accesses the web service that's actually implemented in the web service class, and then retrieves the data and populates these classes right here. That makes it so that the user can retrieve the information but not store it locally. It's on the fly information, and then once they actually decide what they want, they can save that portion of the information. Next, and that populates this class, and all this stuff is handled by these booleans right here that allow you to be able to take this data right here and be able to know when you're able to access it or not, or whether it's being downloaded or not, which is important. Next, let me show you the tests. Okay, so I set up a few tests on this application to test out certain aspects of the basic protocols. So here's my first test. So what I did was I tested the basic values, whether I could add a report, remove a report, and set the username like I was supposed to on the user. And it seemed to work well. Here's the actual code for it. As you can see, what I basically did was I created a user in the test add report section. I created a user, created a report, set the report to specific values, some specific values that I defined, and then I checked to see if that report was still, that I added to that user, is accessible and is the same report that I added before. Same thing on the report, except the test remove report, except for the fact that I went ahead and I went ahead and removed it, and then I checked to see if there were any reports left over. Now that worked pretty well as well. So, and then I moved on to the test username, which is the basic one. Now, when I generated everything, I used the plugin in another class to make sure that I was able to access the data and print it out like I'm supposed to. So here's the using EMF model. So as you can see, what I did was I created some demo data, a demo user with 4 reports with specific information in each of the reports. Now, if everything worked out right, it should be able to print out this report that I created. And as you can see, the information that we set up in our demo data right here seems to have worked. And so did this. So that's basically my project as a whole at this point. I have not implemented any of the database stuff just yet, so it's going to be a little bit of work to do that as well. Also, I'd like at some point to be able to set up the web services so that they don't have that protocol where it has to do the test on the downloading and those Boolean flags, which is a little complex. So those would be the features that I would implement later on. So I apologize for the size of the file that I'm submitting for the video. Unfortunately, the only one that I could get working perfectly first try was the QuickTime video that's loaded up onto my computer initially. So that's why the file size is pretty darn big. I'll try and convert it to MP4 if I can and see if it reduces it, but unfortunately sometimes the video doesn't come out right if you do it that way, so we'll check it out. So thank you and have a wonderful day.